here's our project we've been working on. I'm going to run this, build it. This is a clean build. You'll notice I get a lot of warnings here. So embarrassing. So embarrassing. I should do a video just removing the warnings. In fact, I should have warnings turned on as errors, to be honest, but I don't. That's another video, another day. But I'll clean that up eventually. Here's our point light, and it's a cube, but it's actually a point. And, as the point gets closer and closer, our dot products here go to 1, but out here they go to 0. So it's dimmer out there, but as I bring our light up, everything goes bright because our dot products are pretty much 1. They're close to 1. And that's fine if our light's the sun. We have the light up, the big sun lights everything. Big, powerful light bulb out there in space. Awesome. But that's more like a directional light, and I haven't taught you guys about directional lights. Maybe we'll do some directional lighting. That's not what we're trying to accomplish here. What we have here is a little point light, a light bulb, if you would. The best thing I can relate this to is if you're driving down the road, you see some cars off in the distance. Those cars have their headlights on. Hopefully they don't have their high beams on. And their lights, at a distance, you can handle the lights. But even without the high beams turned on, as the car gets closer and closer and closer, it's like, I'm going to kind of look away because it's bright. Hopefully I don't crash. That's called attenuation. And I had a photography class when I was in college, and the teacher was crazy. It was awesome, but he was crazy. And he taught me about the inverse square law. Inverse square law. Inverse square. He said that to me 100 times. And basically the inverse square law is that light falls off inverse proportional here to the distance squared. Meaning if you're going down the road, this is a horizontal side view of a road here. I'm going to draw this a little smaller, though. Side view of the road. So here's flat ground, and I'm standing here. Your car's out here, and here's your car's headlight. The distance is basically all this. And as you square that, basically light falls off at the distance squared. And so if your light's out here, it's not as bright. It's not hurting my eyes. But as you get closer, then, hey, look, you're going to get brighter. You're going to hurt my eyes. Oh, you get super close, like, put my eyes away from that. In fact, let's graph this. I really like graphing these equations. All right, I'm going to go 1 over the distance squared like that. And, oh, look at that. Basically what we're saying here is as your distance-wise, as you get further and further out, we're getting closer and closer to 0. But as you get closer and closer to me, it's really bright, really bright. And we have a vertical asymptote here at x equals 0. But anyway, he said this is the inverse square law, and I had to actually do this on the test. So that's our fall off. Well, in graphics, we use the same formula, but us graphics people, we like to add a few things to give us some control. So I'm going to say 1 over the distance squared here, but I'm also going to add some other things. So we'll put a constant out there, and we'll say plus, and then we're going to put another constant out here, not equal to this constant, totally different constant. This is k sub L times the distance. That's the distance between the light and the surface that we're lighting, and then plus k with a q there. So 3 constants, just a regular constant here, another constant times the distance. This L is for linear. This is linear fall off. This Q is for quadratic fall off. We have d squared there. That's a quadratic term there. So, yeah, all 3 of these. And we're saying 1 over all this stuff. We're essentially taking a percentage of all the light that's already there. And if you think about it, you turn on a light bulb or turn on any light, and that light gives you full power. But then due to the physics in the environment, you're going to lose some of the light. Right? You're going to take a percentage of the light, and that's essentially what we're doing here. It's 1 over something. How big of a percent do we want to keep? Okay, this is how much we're going to keep, because we're going to take the end value of what we have here and times it by the amount of light in the scene, and that's the amount of light we want to keep. In fact, if you think about it, before we did lighting, we were essentially keeping 100% of the light. I never said that, but one way to think of lighting is anti-lighting. You're removing light from the scene. When we do our dot products to figure out our specularity, we do our dot products for our diffuse light. We check in a little bit of ambient. All that turns out to be that we're taking down from 100%. Okay, remember the dot products, They can add up to either 1 or something less than 1. So we're taking 100%, and we're taking a percentage of the light. We're removing light by doing diffuse and ambient equations. Same thing here. Attenuation, we're just removing more light. But we're removing more light with respect to the distance from the light. And then this term out here just says, well, let's just take out some of the light because we feel like we should. It gives us a nice fill. And so this is kind of a hackish equation, but at the end of the video, I'm going to show you a cool article I bumped into, a guy that kind of figured out where this came from, or at least how it relates to actual physics. Anyway, blah, blah. I digress. Look, I like to look at this equation by dividing it up. Say D here was 0. We had 0 distance. 0 distance there, 0 distance there. Then we just would be left with 1 over KC, which is just saying, hey, take out some of the light. Take out some of the light. All right, now this plus here says, well, we want to take out more of the light in addition to the light we took out, but that more that we're doing is directly related to the distance. In fact, it's linearly related to the distance, and this is quadratic. And so say this was 0. This term right here is 0. And this term right here, this K1, or K1. See, look, I just said K1. That's embarrassing. This KL, linear attenuation. Oh, there I do it again. Let's say that that constant's arbitrary. It's up to us to decide what that constant is. And when we actually code this up, we'll throw some sliders on so we can adjust this real time as the app's running, so we don't have to adjust it, run, adjust it, run, adjust it, run. We throw the sliders on, and the sliders allow us to see real time the behavior. It's such a much better experience for us. And hopefully that's the experience you're giving your artists. You give them controls, little knobs or sliders to control so they can see what they like when it comes to anything that you've coded up for them. Anyway, 1 over K1D, as D increases linearly, this is going to fall off. Same thing here. So let's say this constant was 0, this constant is 0, and all we're left with is the actual inverse square law. But then we throw a constant on here because us programmers, us graphics guys, like some control. And so that's gonna fall off much faster because this quadratic function will grow much faster than the linear one. And obviously, this constant one has no growth, 0 growth. I hope you've been watching the videos in the surgeon level playlist because I explain that kind of stuff there. Let's graph this. I'm going to graph this. Hold on. Here's our graphing calculator. We're not worried about negative distances because whether you're negative far away or positive far away, the negative versus the positive is simply a matter of direction. If I get to the physics concepts in the game programming playlist, we'll talk about negative versus positive, but basically negative is just the direction. So we'll focus on positive here. Don't blink. I'm going to type the equation up here. Ninja skills. Watch this. There you go. I just put the equation in there, and obviously we have an error here because 1 divided by 0 plus 0 times something plus 0 times something is undefined. And so the graphing calculator is like, yo, that's kind of awkward. What are you trying to do there? And the reason I wanted to do that is we could start out with some simple numbers. So what if I put a 1 out here? Okay, if I pause, well, I want you to pause the video and think, well, what happens if I change this to a 1 and then come back? Okay, here we go. 1. Oh, look at that. 1 divided by 1. We're essentially keeping 100% of light. No effect there. All right, now what if I drop that 1 down to a 0.5? Okay, 1 divided by 1. I'm going to drop this 1 here to a 0.5. How's that going to change things? All right, we'll pause the video. Think about it. Okay, 0.5. Oh, look at that. I just doubled the amount of light that we actually had. So instead of taking away light, I actually doubled it and probably saturated the light. We talked about light saturation. We used the clamp function earlier in this playlist. Okay, let's do something legit here. Let's do 2. So, hey, 1/2 the light. I want to keep 1/2 of the light. You see, and that's constant. Doesn't matter if you're, say these are meters or feet or centimeters or whatever your measure of length is in your environment. I want to keep half the light no matter how far you are. Okay, good call. I'm going to drop that to 0. Now let's look at the linear fall off here, the linear attenuation. And this is X, not D. I have to use X for the graphing calculator. And let's say, okay, I'm just going to put a 1 out there. So it's 1 divided by X, linear attenuation. So as you're close to the light, meaning no distance here, zero distance right here. Oh, I'm drawing in white. That's going to be real effective, Jamie. Right there. As you have no distance, you basically have complete light. There's our vertical asymptote. We're pretty much, as you have no distance, you have complete light there. But as you get further away, we're going to get closer and closer to zero. And notice this nice kind of, I almost want to say it looks like a cone, but it's just this nice fall off there, what you'd expect, kind of with light. It's real bright as you get closer, but then it falls off rather quickly. Okay, cool. Let's drop that to zero. Let's look at the quadratic term. I'll just put that at 1. Oh! That looks a lot like what we just had with linear, except it falls off faster. Right? In fact, I think it's easier if we compare these two directly. So 1 divided by 1 times x. There we go. Here's the blue is our linear fall off. The red is our quadratic fall off. You can see the quadratic's like, wow, boom, and quadratic gets to zero much faster. So now I'm going to drop the quadratic up here. 1 divided by 1 times x squared. Oops. And so basically we have the same thing here that we have up here, but I'm going to tweak all these at the same time. And then let's throw a constant down here. I'm going to say, we'll start out with 1 divided by 2. And with this, I actually have to tell the calculator that's exactly what I want. So I have to say y equals 1/2. Actually, do I? Let me take that out. No, yep, I do. Okay. Y equals 1/2. And we're going to just kind of zoom in here. And when we say 1/2 there, I'm going to drop the 2 here. I'll say 2. When I say 1/2, I'm essentially saying I want to take out at least half the light. So the red is our full equation up here, and then we have the 1/2 right there. So I'm going to take out at least half the light. But in addition to half the light, I'm going to add some more depending on the distance squared there. So you can see this full formula right up here is the red. Is that kind of red? It looks kind of pink red. This is the full formula. And oh, look, it starts out at half. We said y equals 1/2. The y equals 1/2, that's that horizontal line there. We said, well, we're going to take out at least half the light. We're going to kill all this. And then from there, I want some quadratic fall off in proportion to the constant I have right here. Let's change that 1 up. We can tweak that 1 up and just, let's erase all that. When we tweak the 1 up, notice how this slope on there will change. So I say, okay, well, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You see the control I'm getting there? As I increase the size of this constant, then the fall off is faster. Or it falls off faster, I guess that's one way of saying that. Or we can say, okay, let's, instead of doing 1, we could say, well, all right, maybe I don't want the fall off so fast. So I'll say 0.5, and then the slope is nice and gentle. Same thing here. I'll leave it as an exercise for you because the video is getting kind of long, but tweak these values out there. And as you tweak these constants and tweak them right here as well, remember this is the URL for this. Here, I'll pop the URL up on the screen. There you go. Here's the URL for the graphing calculator I've been using in these videos. And I'll drop the URL in the description, make it easy on yourself. But yeah, tweak these values, and you'll see, oh, we have a fall off here, an extreme fall off, and take it up higher, take it down lower, all you want to do. But that's essentially what we're going to do in our program. We're going to add some sliders so we can adjust these constants and control the amount of attenuation that we have. Now, I promised I'd show you an article. Let me show you an article. So let me just show you. Here's the URL to the article. I'm doing it wrong.wordpress.com/2011, January 31st. Light attenuation. And he talks about, hey, it's 1 divided by all the stuff that I just talked about, and he explains it all too. He's like, since I read about light attenuation in the Red Book, I've often wondered where this equation came from. What value should actually be used for the attenuation factors? But I can never find satisfactory explanation. Pretty much every reference to light attenuation in both books and online simply presents some variant of this equation along with screenshots of objects being lit. And there's sometimes accompanying a bit of hand waving. All right, now hand waving is when we're like, oh well, it just works because it works, and I'm gonna pretend like it works, but it's just magic and blah blah. And I do that plenty, when I don't understand things, I'll do that too. But I try to be legit, and to be honest, this is the equation we use in graphics, and it's nice because we can tweak it. But as far as how physically real this equation is, well, this guy dug down into it and he derived some of it and came up with it's just beautiful. Exercise for you. Read this if you want to go a little bit beyond. I'd love to go through this article for you, but if I do all the work for you, then you don't learn. So